It is midnight local time here in Australia, and if you know what that time means, well, it's now time to take a look at your latest industry developments from the world of aviation, where I look at several topics and include them all in the one video. And in today's episode, there's coverage on Airbus experiencing delays with its own aircraft. Meanwhile, AirJapan has officially launched operations, and lastly, there's some curious updates around Spirit Airlines, who of course are entangled in that battle to get their acquisition with JetBlue approved. I will begin proceedings though with the feature story. Reuters reports that future delivery delays for aircraft across the Airbus family are expected, as the plane maker battles with supply chain difficulties. According to an industry source, Airbus is now facing what is described as fresh delays in delivering some aircraft. The plane maker is expecting that new jets towards the latter stages of 2024 and some parts of 2025 will incur the bulk of the new delays. The newest delays will now see deliveries pushed back several months. However, the timeline is subject to change, and thus could have a more extensive or shorter delay depending on how supply chains trend in the future. While Airbus enjoyed a pretty successful January, it actually saw a significant boost in deliveries, showing a 50% rise from 1 year prior. There are still difficulties that are present. The European plane maker cites the complex operating environment, a reason that we know has been used for several years, especially following the pandemic, that seems to just have not let up as the reason why all of this is happening. In 2023, Airbus was at the very least able to achieve its delivery goal of 720 units by reaching 735 actually. They though will want to increase this in 2024, and the manufacturer believes it'll be able to do this. However, the reality is that despite achieving goals, the backlog for aircraft is substantial, and with the associated delays, the aircraft outgoings can't keep up with the new orders booked. Airbus is not alone in experiencing delivery delays. We know Boeing is also experiencing this problem, and that is completely ignoring their ongoing quality-related difficulties. For single-aisle aircraft, we know they are the most in-demand type currently, and delays are pretty common for these planes. For an airline to acquire a single-aisle plane such as the MAX or 320neo family jets and have it actually take place on time, while that is considered by most companies to be simply impossible in the current operating climate. Ultimately, aircraft delays do have a trickle-down effect from the manufacturer to the airlines I speak of, who are slated to operate these planes long into the future. The negative effects can impact their finances, alongside airlines having to readjust their potential retirement schedule and thus retaining inefficient aircraft to essentially cover for capacity. While there are visible delivery delays, another problem currently for Airbus is that their A320 family is essentially sold out into the 2030s. This is a fantastic problem to have to a certain extent, but many would argue that therefore they can't capitalize on some of the persistent issues impacting their direct competitor, Boeing. And I'd also like to then move on to some exciting news coming out of Japan, with AirJapan by ANA officially launching its operations in the last week and a half. This is now the third airline in the ANA group setting off. The service was operated by a 7878 aircraft which connected Tokyo Narita to Bangkok, acting as the airline's debut route. AirJapan says it'll serve Bangkok with 6 round-trip flights per week initially. In the future, starting February 22 if I'm being specific, AirJapan says it'll add flights from Tokyo Narita to Incheon, and the newly announced Singapore Changi will debut on April 26th, 2024, but generally speaking, the future of these routes will only really be made possible thanks to the continued arrival of new aircraft, which AirJapan says will come in due course in accordance with ANA. The airline is planning on exclusively operating with the 787 Dreamliner, and these Dreamliners are configured with all economy seats. Their focus is not on being a full-service carrier, they do want to be more affordable to customers. While flights are going to be affordable, the airline doesn't want to lose its charm, that you could argue is generally held within the ANA group. They are the pride of Japan, they want to stick with that. ANA will retain this feeling by ensuring that the space in the cabin is primarily the same as the mainline ANA flights, but other adjustments will be made to lower the costs as much as possible. ANA launching AirJapan is not only to better compete with existing companies such as Scoot by Singapore Airlines and Zip Air by Japan Airlines, but it is equally to respond to the surging demand in the region once more. Tourism in Japan specifically grew substantially in 2023 as restrictions continued to ease, resulting in the country becoming once more a very popular destination that people wanted to visit. In the long term, the airline hopes to grow its fleet and attract more people to Japan and destinations across Asia. It wants to do so, though, at affordable pricing and making it a more attractive option than competitors. On to the final story of today, that sits with Spirit Airlines, who made headlines not only throughout 2023, but certainly early 2024, thanks to its acquisition by JetBlue being blocked. However, the company has published its latest financial results, which have revealed more about the state of the airline that has struggled to bring in a profit for now several years. Additionally, the airline has words for those who have doubted the airline's long-term position in the industry without a takeover from JetBlue. Spirit Airlines reported narrowing losses to USD 184 million in the fourth quarter, which, while still a loss, is an improvement as domestic markets continue to grow. The first quarter of 2024 is also expected to see a loss. However, the airline says revenues will total above analysts' forecasts. 2023 was a challenging year for Spirit, underpinned really by that Pratt & Whitney engine saga that hurt their reliability and capacity on day-to-day services. However, analysts argue that there is more to it than just that, primarily centering around a business model adopted by the company that struggles to make money. However, Spirit's CEO came back at that, and specifically on analysts' views, said that they believe the airline has a narrative that is misguided. In recent years, Spirit Airlines has been forced to massively shift how it operates, wherever possible, to really just preserve its status within the industry. This preservation has seen the airline adjust its route network several times to find profitable services and make further cuts. Now the airline hopes that throughout 2024, it'll continue making positive decisions to drive it towards positive cash flow and thus profitability. For budget airlines such as Spirit, a significant focus has been placed on the weaker domestic airfares as another one of the struggles that has hurt them. Growth hasn't been possible to the levels that they had hoped because of these factors, among others. During December alone, Spirit said it was being forced at peak to park up to 40 aircraft. However, the hope is things will improve considerably by the end of next year. That's going to conclude today's aviation news update. If you have any thoughts, you're more than welcome to drop them down below in the comments. Thank you so very much for your support here on the channel. It really does mean a lot. Please do take care and do also be safe, and I will indeed see you next time, same place, same time, for your latest industry developments.